Hey friends, Lexi here in my amazing office, my Loving with Lexi office. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to record some things I want to talk about sound related wise. So this is why there's only one AirPod on to hopefully give you better audio. But today I want to talk to you about two things. Number one, we're going to talk about Betty White and pop culture, and it's going to relate to relationships in some form or fashion. That's why we're talking about it. A couple things people don't know about me. I love relationship talks. So I have a podcast called Relationship Reflections. I highly recommend you check it out. It's on Spotify, Apple, all those streaming platforms. Check it out. Relationship Reflections season 2 launches next week. It's about to be fire. I'm not even kidding. Season 1 was reflections about things I learned from breakups. Season 2 is all about interviewing successful couples. The first episode's really silly. It's conversations with my friends where they're giving me real advice and talking about my standards. And then the second episode is of a healthy couple, and many of our interviews, so not all, but many of our interviews this year in season 2 are going to involve healthy couples. Like, let's get advice in our modern day time today. So super, super, super excited about that. Make sure you check out the Relationship Reflections podcast and then follow me on Instagram with Loving with Lexi. But let's talk about two topics, Betty White, and then we're going to talk about something relating to relationships, totally separate topics. But this is who I am. We're going to go deep, and then we're going to reflect. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to grab my other phone and get you some facts. But Betty White passed away at 99 years old. Crazy, sad. One of the things that I had read an article that she had said that helps her to stay young, so this is before her passing, but that has led to a long life and longevity, is that she said that she's a cockeyed optimist, which means she's optimistic. And I love that. And she said she got that from her mom. So she believes that living in an optimistic way is what leads to long life, to longevity. And so she did pass away on, I believe it was New Year's Eve. But what I want to talk about is a few things. So, well, one, did you know she was working on a documentary? So that is definitely going to come out this year. The documentary is called Betty White, A Celebration. It was originally titled Betty White 100 Years Young, a birthday celebration, but clearly she did not make it to that 100 years. But what I really want to talk about is the last things that she said. Did you know that the last thing she said, and the source is her assistant who was with her at the time of her passing, the last thing she said was the name of her late husband, who was Alan Ludden. So the last word she said was Alan. I think that is so sweet. Her late husband had actually passed away of cancer. Let me see the year. It was back in 1981. He was 72 years old and he died from stomach cancer. 72 years old. But so when I read pop culture, which is something I love, and celebrity stuff, I'm not kidding. Some of the things I wonder about is like, what do they believe? What's their belief system? And I find it interesting that Betty White named her late husband because that would imply maybe she believes in a heaven and a hell, or believes in an afterlife of some form. Now, I did more digging in the articles, and what I also found was that her assistant said that Betty was not afraid of death because she longed to reconnect with her husband. So that statement led to more evidence that maybe Betty White believed in an afterlife. Maybe she believed in reconnecting with loved ones in a heaven or a hell. So that opens up a door. Like, did she believe that? We don't know. This is all speculation. But I do like to get into what are our belief systems and what do we think, and because it does impact kind of how we live our life or how we make decisions based on where you're at. And I have friends of all kinds with different belief systems, so just know there's no judgment. But I wanted to bring up something that also kind of, right, so this article comes out, I'm reading about this sad passing. This year, there's been a lot of deaths. I do video work for a living. I've done more funeral videos this year than ever before. And it's challenging, and I have lost loved ones as well, so it's been very painful. But the question that comes up is like, what happens when we're done here? And this year I've had a conversation with people who are like, I don't believe in a hell, or I don't believe in a heaven. So I wanted to read something that I read yesterday that kind of popped out a little bit differently, and maybe it's because of the time frame or the heightened awareness of death, I guess, or the awareness of what happens after this life. In Genesis, so this is the story of creation out of the Bible. This is the New King James Version, but it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. And then it goes into darkness and light. But I never noticed that the first sentence says, he created the heavens and the earth. Like, I think I've kind of brushed past the heavens part, because then I'm like, is there evidence? That's like an evidence for me in a scriptural way that there is a heaven and a hell. And I'm not going to get into the hell part, because maybe that'll be another day, another video for another conversation. But when I heard or read all these articles and dug deep into the social media hole of Betty White, it is a thought that came to my mind. Is she a Christian? Did she believe in heaven and hell? Clearly she believed in reconnecting or reuniting with her husband. So that is a thought. I would love your thoughts. Feel free to comment below on all the things that were just mentioned. So that's kind of deep. The question that I'm posing is, what do you believe? Where do you stand? I would love to information gather. And why do you believe what you believe? Like, those are the stories I love too. So you're going to notice I love talking about spirituality, and I love talking about relationships. And I love getting deep, real, vulnerable into the core of things in our hearts. I'm not a superficial girl. So it's funny that I'm bringing up like an article, pop culture topic, but the way I view it is a lens of such depth. So hopefully you can appreciate that. The second thing I wanted to talk about, we're shifting gears. This is like a major shift. Woo! I feel like, what's that show where she's like, how you doing? Yeah. Okay. Shifting gears. Let's talk about relationships, because we already know that's what Loving with Lexi is all about. So, relationships. I was having a conversation with a friend who was talking to multiple women. And the thought I had, and I was like, I should just record this for my podcast. But then I was like, we kind of have some structure and order for the podcast. I'm going to talk about it today. I'm going to do it via video, and we'll share it that way. But because I want to get this topic out here, and I want to know your thoughts on it. Balancing people in dating and in relationships. Please don't fall. Balancing and dating people. Do you think, this is my question, I'm posing it. Do you think that dating multiple people helps create good habits to help you have a successful relationship? That's my question. I believe the answer is no. Let me tell you why. Because some people will be like, no, you got to date around to know what you want. I agree. But what I've seen, and I'm going to just use myself as an example, I've dated people where I'm talking to a lot of people at the same time. And the truth is, by the end, like if it doesn't work out, let's say I do end up choosing one person. If it doesn't work out, I wonder about all these other options in the option pool. And I'm being honest, I think it's created, this is me being vulnerable, I think it's created this like unhealthy need for attention. Like, if I'm talking to multiple people, what it's creating is this habit of my needs met, emotional need met, emotional need met, emotional need met, emotional need met. But when so now we're going to contrast it. When you choose to date one person, when you're dating that person, there is a true essence of seeing them as a whole and choosing what is very important to you for your values, and then what is not so important to you. What I mean by that is fulfilling your needs. I really value these deep conversations. I really value the support. I really value the honesty. I really value the authenticity. But I don't like how they handle conflict, or I don't know if I can get past, I'm going to make something up, how they drive in the snow. I don't know. I'm giving something superficial a little bit, but I think that when you date one person, you're actually creating a healthy habit to set you up for success in an exclusive partnership. And I say this because then you're also forced to deal with some of your own flaws, and you ask deeper questions. This is just my experience. I have noticed that. when you are balancing a lot of people, there's a little bit of a I don't want to say superficialness, but it takes a lot of work to get emotionally in those deeper layers and levels. Yesterday I had two friends over who are married, and one of them is newly married. The other one has been married for a few years, and they've been together for like, I don't know, a long time. And I was realizing as I was listening to them, the commitment it takes to be married to one person, the work it takes to be married exclusively to one person. And we are always honest and vulnerable, but I started realizing that there have been some habits that I have done that don't set me up for success in dating. It's like, well, no wonder there's some struggles. And this is one. So as I was talking to my friend who literally is talking about balancing people, I was like, yo, I know I'm going to sound exactly like the host of a podcast, but I don't think that balancing people is sustainable. Here's why. And as I wrote with them, as we were chatting, I was like, okay, I'm going to just get my phone and record it. Yeah, I think that if we continue to create a culture where I'm not going to bash any apps because I don't want to get sued, but if we're going to continue creating a culture where you're on to the next thing, or there's something always available, we're creating an inability to self-soothe, an inability to solidify what we want that matters to us, an inability to weigh the cost. Because the truth is, as I hear my married friends are sacrifice and there's cost. I just interviewed a couple that'll be on the Relationship Reflections podcast who chatted with me, who've been married for 61 years. And they said back then there were options too. But the difference was you made a commitment and a choice, and then you just stuck to it. And instead of dreaming for this ideal, I want A, B, C, and D, you make a commitment, you make a choice, and then you continue to work towards your needs and work towards your wants. And one of the things they were saying is that in our today age, we set these goals and these dreams, this 10-year marriage dream and goal, the house, the secure job, the marriage, the beautiful kids and the picket fence and the golden doodle dog. I don't know. But what this couple was sharing with me, they've been married for 61 years, so clearly they're doing something, they've done something right, was that when you create this, I want this now, instead of, do I like who you are today and we're going to work towards this tomorrow. And actually, they even said this, we're going to just work for tomorrow. We're not working for 10 years from now. Like, what do we want today? What do we want tomorrow? Do we want to buy this now? Do we not? And you working on things as a team, that it creates teamwork and in closeness and love and sustainability. And so, right. So now I'm talking to a friend, millennial, and like me. And it's like, yo, like, there's nothing wrong with balancing all these people. And it's like, well, as I'm learning, and I've made the same mistake, I actually think we're sacrificing what we really want for what we can get now. So my immediate needs for attention instead of what I really, really want, which is an exclusive one-on-one partnership. So if you can relate, or if you are somebody who has invested a lot of energy balancing people, my advice would be to choose the one person that you feel like, I don't know, you want to try, and give it time. And then if later on you realize it's not the best fit, there has to be a reason. Because I've been there. And I think that's something I've done differently in this last dating experience is I only chose one person I wanted to give my energy and time to, I wanted to learn from and with, and I didn't talk to other dudes. I wanted to really focus on if I saw a sustainable long-term relationship with this person. I'm really grateful and thankful for the new experience, the new process, and even following the relationship reflections advice that was provided by some of the guests that have been interviewed that are in sustainable relationships. And so I'm not saying don't go on dating apps. I'm not saying to go on dates with all these people. That's fine. Do what you think is best for you. But I am going to just offer a food for thought. Offer food for thought. Yeah. How are you creating healthy habits to help you prepare for an exclusive relationship with someone where you're gonna have to compromise, where there's gonna be disappointments? How are we creating that? Because I know for me, I'm doing a lot of undoing from the way I've dated in the past. And so I'm trying to give you some loving with Lexi advice as you are in this dating journey in our modern day world. So love you. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Toodles.